Eye on Gauteng, brought to you by the Gauteng Department of Economic Development.
Although the creative industries in South Africa are not giving enough attention, they are increasingly becoming more important as generators of jobs, wealth and culture. The Gauteng Department of Arts, Culture and Recreation recently hosted the Creative Industries Indaba with the aim of enhancing growth in the creative industry. Pilali Nyalunga attended and brings us this report.
The Department of Sports, Arts, Culture and Recreation recently hosted the Creative Industries Indaba with the aim of sharing government's progress in implementing new strategies for the creative industries as well as measuring the impact of crafts, music, visual and performing arts on the economy.
The creative industries in the province contribute about 33 billion towards the economy of the province. It's contributing towards the creation of 60,000 jobs. We've got almost 11,000 firms. We think that that's significant, but we can do better as a province. All we need to do is to have plans that are focused, is to resource the sector, is to organize the sector better. And hence we have always been mooting an idea of a creative industries agency, and that should be able to help us to mobilize more resources towards boosting the sector.
People from different creative industries shared their views in the day-long Indaba. The event attracted many of the arts and culture fraternity in the province.
I think the intention is to help, contribute to our GDP, contribute to our welfare and take our creative industries out there and showcase them worldwide, internationally. I mean, we've had events like your World Cup, AFCON, but one always feel like, we didn't really do much to sell our creative industries. So, events like this, one wishes would change all that, where after a World Cup we start seeing our music being exported, our artists and our culture being understood much better. But if you look at 2010 and try and remember, the only thing you remember is Shakira Waka Waka, Wave Your Flag or R. Kelly, none of what we did as South Africans. So if we sit here and try and say, guys, we need to be known internationally, just like we do with sports. Let's try and do something about our creative industries. Then we're talking.
It's a trickle-down effect. Is it 2 years ago when we had the Mzansi Golden Economy led by the Minister, Paul Mashatile? And now you're seeing Gauteng taking its place. And Gauteng, it's where it starts. So if it's taking a lead in saying, let's then talk what the minister was talking. To us, it says the trickle-down effect are going well. Well done to the MEC, Lebohang Maile, for saying, eventually, let's put the proper effort into this. The only caution that will be there is that government should not, at any level, wish to dirty its hands with the implementation.
The Indaba was also the launch pad for a partnership with Proudly South African. The resultant campaign will promote South African companies, products and services which are actively creating jobs and promoting economic growth.
Our partnership with Proudly South Africa is basically to promote Proudly South Africa product, the productions, whether it's in film, in music, whatever, so that our people must support our filmmakers, our artists, and we must see more local content in our media, in radio, in TV. And it's just as simple as that, Proudly South African.
The partnership is expected to go a long way in promoting the growth of the arts and culture industries locally.
The amount of money that is lost by industry to piracy and counterfeiting is, if it hurts big business, you can imagine what it does to an ordinary creative, whether it's an artist who's trying to make a living from their music and that we continue to pirate their music. So those are the challenges that I believe, arising from this partnership, we should be able to address. And that is why we're very grateful to the MEC coming on board and supporting the initiative, and the Premier talking about how best we can use the resources, which is our people really, in order to improve the lives of the ordinary people of our country.
We're now joined by Leah Manenje. She is the Chief Director for Intergovernmental Relations and Strategic Partnerships at the Gauteng Department of Sports, Arts, Culture and Recreation. Leah, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Goodness, you do have a long title, don't you?
I know I do.
Is this indicative of all the hard work or all the volume of work that you do in your portfolio at the Gauteng government?
It is, definitely, yes.
I think a good place to start, Leah, is the Gauteng province when it comes to arts and culture and, you know, sports and everything else as well. But when it comes to arts and culture, would you say that we are the melting pot or the focal point of arts and culture in South Africa and, dare I say, the region as well?
Yeah, Gauteng province is known for its culture in terms of big events, and that's how we're trying to position Gauteng as a destination for all your big events, be it sports, arts, culture, heritage related. So yes, we are definitely one of.
Is there any particular reason why, and the reason why I'm asking you this is because we have a melting pot. I mean, there is no one particular ethnic group in the South African context that reside in Gauteng. We have ethnic groups from all over the country, the continent, and the region. Is there any reason why we seem to be having Gauteng spearheading arts and culture in the region, in the country?
Perhaps on the basis of that, yes. And because a lot of people, obviously Gauteng is known for having its businesses and opportunities around, you know, look at the city of Johannesburg, for example. And so we use a lot of our programs for social cohesion related programs, because we understand the fact that we bring everybody together. You've got all these ethnic groups, you've got everybody coming in here to try and make some sort of business, be it from a creative point of view or sports or any other sector for that matter. Okay,
cool. So we've just seen the insert there where my colleague brought us the highlights of the Creative Industries Indaba that took place. Yes. The premier was there, yes. The MEC was there, Lebogang Maile, and a whole lot of musicians, you know, famous musicians that are known throughout the continent. Why was it so important?
It was very important for government to give feedback on the implementation of the creative industries strategy. You know, we're tired of talk shops, and everybody else is. You know, government is famous for just talking and not being able to prove or deliver on these promises. So we just needed to give feedback on those. There's 3 documents. You know, government did a lot of extensive research around the white paper, which looks at or focuses or comments government on the growth of the sector itself. There's a whole lot of other strategies that have been put in place just for the sector. This is the importance of it. Like you rightfully say, 13 billion of the GDP comes from the creative industries sector. So it was very important that we come back and say, how have we developed ever since the strategies were developed?
And if you look at similar countries, or at least countries that have developed the arts and culture sectors, they've done very well. I mean, there are certain countries that that is actually the output of that particular region. If you look at France, if you look at Italy, and so on. Is that where we are going as a province?
That's where we want to go. I mean, one of the researches that we want to do, we want to take a study tour to California. I mean, they raise up around 80 billion of their economy comes from that sector. So there's other countries have done very, very well. So there's opportunities for us as well.
Okay. Now, obviously, yesterday you also announced a partnership with Proudly South Africa, and that's the IGR in your title, Intergovernmental Relations.
And Strategic Partnerships.
And Strategic Partnerships. Goodness, yeah, it's a mouthful. But tell us about your partnership with Proudly South Africa.
Okay. If you look at the mandate of Proudly SA, there's support for local content, for the quality of products and services that are produced. You look at the environmental imperatives that they look at when they're developing, and you look at the Creative Industries Indaba. It was a perfect marriage. In that, a lot of our artists suffer from piracy, suffer from people trying to really shortchange. And I mean, we also guilty sometimes want to negotiate prices with them and know that this is their livelihood. So Proudly SA, the marriage was based on that, to say, you know, let's support local content, let's promote local content instead of jumping and, you know, securing services from an international performer. We have these artists who are just as good, and we should be exposing and promoting and developing them.
And very interestingly, I think a viewership at home would do well to understand that a part of your mandate as a Department of Arts and Culture is similar to the mandate of Proudly South Africa, promoting national pride, patriotism, social cohesion, and nation building. You want to just talk us through that, just as a final discussion before we end?
Yeah. In terms of the agreement that we've put in place with them, those are aspects that we've covered. If you look at the commemorations of national days, that's something that is aimed at, you know, driving national pride. You look at the national anthem, for example. Yesterday we all had to sing it, and it was, you could see it's important that we start really taking these things seriously.
Are you telling me, 18 years later, some people still don't know the words, maybe? No?
Amazingly so, yes. So there's a need for us. That is why it's important for us to have this relationship. One of the things that became a joke of the day was the bags. You know, we had these goodie bags that were given. There was a name tag that says made in China. And you've got this relationship and the partnership that you're driving. So these partnerships are very important. It's very collaborative. We always call on private sector and corporates to come together and perhaps help us with funding. But it's also important that we look at collaborative efforts so that we can enhance the services. Sometimes these small events don't have an impact compared to if you all come together based on the shared mandate and you have a bigger event which has an impact overall.